Mike Messier, and I'm going to contemplate Radio Shack. Now, why would I do such a thing, and why would I spend your time and my time contemplating a business that's out of business? Right now, we're going to drive by, and this is a Rhode Island thing, but probably everywhere in the world at this point, at least in USAville. This is what this used to be. Like in Rhode Island, there's a joke that you can always tell people how to go somewhere with directions by telling them where something used to be. Back where the Almacs used to be, back where the fucking whatever the fuck used to be. And basically, Rhode Island is just a microcosm. It's the smallest state in the Union. Last night I was actually watching a mixed martial arts show that took place in Rhode Island, CES MMA from Lincoln, Rhode Island. And there's a city called Cranston, Rhode Island. And the commentator commentating the show, which was broadcast from Cranston, Rhode Island, said, I believe he said, I could be wrong, he said the fighter was from Cranston, New Jersey. And I said, wow, the guy is actually in Rhode Island commentating this fight, and he got the state wrong that he's actually in. There's no such place, as far as I know, as Cranston, New Jersey. Maybe he said, to give the guy the benefit of the fucking doubt, maybe he said, the guy, he's from Cranston and New Jersey, or Cranston via New Jersey, but I think he said the guy is from Cranston, New Jersey. It's not Cranston, New Jersey, it's Cranston, Rhode Island. Getting back to Radio Shack, why would I even talk about it? It's just a thing with Radio Shack, some Radio Shack memories. The only good memory I have of Radio Shack, maybe a couple of little ones, but just getting speaker wires. Like, that was the place I could actually buy speaker wires about 10 years ago for some fucking old school speakers. But even when they were still in business for about 8 or 10 years, I had a running joke to myself and who'd ever listen. Radio Shack is going to change the name of their company to Try Best Buy. Because for 10 years or whatever the fuck, I'd go into Radio Shack and it would just, whatever I said, whatever I was looking for, whatever problem I had with whatever the fuck, battery need or some ridiculousness to get you into Radio Shack, the answer inevitably was Try Best Buy. And I think that's the problem with a company like Radio Shack that supposedly was there for the guy or the girl who built electronic erector sets or whatever the fuck, if you remember what an erector set was. If you went into Radio Shack and you were just looking to get stuff, even for the obscure, weird stuff that they were supposed to have, they never even seemed to have it, or they didn't have the best selection of that weird stuff. So the point of all this madness is they're out of business. I don't really care. And it's just, you don't have to cry about certain things. I mean, like, if Radio Shack goes out of business, which they did, then as a consumer, you can say, this company didn't adapt to the times. Their last kind of breath on earth as a company was a make fun of themselves video at the Super Bowl where they had like Hulk Hogan and maybe David Hasselhoff or some other such people, like 80s retreads or whatever the fuck. And they were saying, this is not your father's Radio Shack, but also just the word radio. I mean, to finish up one point at a time, that commercial was funny. Everybody got the point, but I don't think they followed up with a big business model change and it was almost too bad because the store, it was a place where, like, every once in a while you get that obscure battery or something at Radio Shack or some obscure gizmo. And that was cool, so I will miss it for that. But eventually, yeah, Best Buy, which was a store 5 or 6 or 10 times bigger for the most part on most head-to-head comparisons, just blew them away. So when you start going to a place like Radio Shack for 5 or 10 years, and every time I went and go there, I would go against my will usually. They'd say, try Best Buy. Then you just get to the point of, whatever the fuck. So what else can I talk about? That's about it. I mean, Radio Shack. Also, the word radio, it's not really a current word. It's a word that, yes, people still say, oh, listen to radio or XM radio, but for the most part, radio for prior generations, you're talking about a movie, Radio Days, or back when people actually give a flying fuck about radio programs or what was on the radio, just good old-fashioned radio with advertising, those campfire days or whatever the fuck you want to call it, or listening to the ball game on the radio at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, reading the paper on the porch. Like, it just doesn't happen anymore. And I wouldn't even say we've evolved, I just say it's different. It's not better or worse. It's probably worse in some ways for some people. You know, blah blah blah. So whatever the fuck. So the word radio and also the word shack. Shack, if you say SHAQ, that has a very friendly, for the most part, Shaquille O'Neal, if you like basketball, big fella. But if you say shack, like Radio Shack, what the fuck is a shack? You know, like, what is a shack? If you really think about it, I mean, you think like a hut, or like Gilligan and the Skipper. But they weren't in shacks. They called their like a hut. So, I mean, I think it's just a thing where you can't really cry too much about a Radio Shack. And as you saw, what's there now? A pet value. So people have pets and they want to have a value or whatever the fuck. So, you know, hopefully you don't go into pet value and say, hey, I'd like to buy this special ointment for my dog or something. That sounds a little perverse. You don't say, I'd like to buy this special product, this special food for my animal, my cat or something. You say, we'll try Best Buy, because that would defeat the whole point. So anyway, Radio Shack, you know, just another part of our dying American culture. I don't even know, to be honest with you, if Radio Shack had much of a culture in it. It was mostly a store of batteries, bulbs, gizmos, adapters, you know, shit like that to hook up your gear, whatever the fuck. So I don't think anyone's really crying over Radio Shack. I mean, I never really went in there. The biggest thing I would go in there for, my cable company, long story short, I had to recycle these batteries at the fucking Radio Shack, and they never gave me a discount or some type of thank you pal or some type of coupon for bothering to recycle these goddamn batteries that cost me. I had to buy a new one at Radio Shack for $40 because that's the only place they had them, but they never gave me anything as a reach around for that. So am I crying in my fucking pants about Radio Shack being out of business? The answer obviously is no, I'm not. I don't miss them. I mean, it's just one of those things where, like, if another company like Toys R Us or say might be going out of business and so on and so forth. I'm trying to think if I have other Radio Shack stories. I mean, just a lot of going in there for 2 minutes, finding out they don't have what I need, being told to go to Best Buy, and then taking my chances there. That's the legacy of Radio Shack. So whoever invented Radio Shack, you probably had your day. You know, you probably had a lot of fun and made some money, and hopefully you get out of the business before you lost your money. And I'm not trying to tell people not to be entrepreneurs or to open Radio Shacks or something of that nature. That guy's got bad breaks. But anyway, it's Mike Messier. It's a beautiful fucking day. That guy's got a horrible sounding car. Maybe he ought to go to Radio Shack or try Best Buy. I'll let you go. Enjoy your goddamn... Have a good weekend.